Dealing with sick human beings is harder than dealing with a cadaver. Wale wameenda shule za public na ushago, najua venye kunaenda, mara mnaambiwa mlete kuni kwa shule. We had to go to a pond, which was 2.5 kilometers away from the school, in the heat of the afternoon. There are days clinic is light, there are days it's a bit heavy. Sometimes we could go get our lunch and come back to the dissection room, and we would eat comfortably.
Welcome to another episode on Knowing Your Medical Maestros. Today we are at Kenya Science and we have a special guest. I'd like him to introduce himself.
Hello, thank you Zippy, thank you Toti. My name is Ndede. I'm a medical specialist. I practice my trade in Meru, where I double up as a lecturer in a medical school at the Kenya Methodist University. But I also do clinical practice in the field of internal medicine. And I must say I'm a little biased for the heart. So I like matters treating things to do with heart diseases. So that's where my trade really is. Thank you.
Awesome. Maybe as we start off, you could tell us a little bit about your academic journey. How was Primo? How was secondary? Yes.
Primo was so much fun compared to secondary school. And the major reason is I was in a day primary school, so we had a lot of freedoms. So my journey was essentially in my primary education was in a public school in a rural setup. So it came with all the perks. I'm sure wale wameenda shule za public na ushago, najua venye kunaenda, mara mnaambiwa mlete kuni kwa shule, mara mnakuja kufagia classes. So it gave us a lot of opportunities to learn. So early on, class 1 to class 7, I was in Kuria district then, I think now sub-district, in a sub-county rather, in Migori County. Isibania Primary School. So Isibania is generally populated by the Kuria people, who are really fantastic people. I got to learn the language, participated in the folk activities there. But over the years, because of not speaking, of course, nimesahau hiyo maneno, but I can still remember some few words, greeting.
Zile za kuomba maji.
Yes, ya kuomba maji, mambo kama hayo. So the unique thing about my primary school education is that I was generally a star student. Because I remember I was a top performer through and through. I was always the best every term, every year, until I completed my primary school.
That's very impressive.
So unfortunately it set some notion of infallibility, which I found a rude shock later on now when I transitioned to high school. I found there were a lot more brilliant people as well. And so it was a big battle when we got to high school. So let me fast forward. The latter part of my primary school, my parents were moving because of work. So we had to change to a different school. So I went again to another rural primary school, this time in Rarieda sub-county, that is in Siaya County. The school itself is called Kobonyo Primary School. And while there, the trend continued. I was still a star student. And when it was time to do the final exams, KCPE, I excelled. as was expected.
Yes.
So for all my troubles, I landed a calling at Maranda High School. And yes, I was admitted in Maranda High School in the year 1999. Toti wewe ni kama huko umezaliwa.
Mimi nilikuwa tu 9 years old, 10. Tulikuwa huko. Ni grade 3.
Yes. So 4 years went really quick in high school, but my high school was a bit of a difficult school because it was in a dry area. We never had proper water, piped water in the school. So if you ask anyone who went to Maranda High School in the late 90s, actually most of the 90s and early 2000s, watakuambia maisha ilikuwa ngumu kidogo. Upande wa maji tulikuwa tunasumbuka. We had to go to a pond.
Whoa.
Which was 2.5 kilometers away from the school. In the heat of the afternoon. To shower in the bushes there and carry water back to school to use later in the other 2 days or 3 days. Then you have to go back to the pond. The other challenge in high school was diet. Sijui kama shule zenu mlikuwa na diet poa, but
Mwenye mlikuwa mnakula nini?
kwetu sana sana ilikuwa githeri. That's maize and beans.
Yep.
Almost all our dinners were maize and beans with black tea. I can say for the 4 years nilikuwa high school, I never saw milk tea.
Oh my, okay. Hardship area.
I know. Sisi tulikuwa maisha London. What?
We had a small canteen where you could buy a few extra supplies, mandazi hapa, maybe mkate.
Yeah.
But again, we didn't have a lot of resources even from a pocket money perspective.
Yeah.
So ilikuwa ni kusurvive tu na hiyo chakula unapewa shuleni. And I remember there was a time it was very interesting. The students wanted to get a better diet, and so tukaleta rabsha kidogo. We didn't strike. We were good boys. But so we approached the principal, and he told us, you know, getting a better diet means we will have to increase the school fees.
Yeah.
Yes. And he told us, I know some of you and your backgrounds, even if we increase school fees by 5,000, some of you will drop out of school. So tukalenga hiyo story.
It was an interesting journey.
Yes. So then high school I finished in the year 2002. Again, the performance was very good. And I managed to score an A grade.
Ooh.
Yes, so it was a very proud moment for myself, my family, my parents. And it really set the stage because I'm sure they were thinking, now this firstborn of ours, he must do well.
Do well in
so that you can set the stage for those who are coming after you. Yes. So after that, tulisema tumemaliza shule, but I think we were very wrong. Hatukujua.
Mkujua kuna kitu kingine inakuja huko mbele.
Masomo ndio inaanza kamili. Yes.
Hey, that is interesting. So since you went to Maranda, you had your challenges, you faced a lot of things during your high school days. Would you say that has shaped who you are right now?
Yes, absolutely. And many people ask me, if I were to get a choice now, would I still go to the same school?
Yeah.
And the answer is always yes. Because my mindset was that these challenges, I took them as something to shape my character, shape my resilience. And I've seen the benefit of that in my present trade. There are times maisha inakuwa ngumu, so you have to find something to fall back onto and look at, draw from past experiences. When things were hard, how did you survive? How did you do things? And yes, so I think it really shaped, one, the aspect of discipline, because our principal was a very strict disciplinarian. Luckily, I never had discipline issues in high school. I was those...
Ukupata suspension?
Never.
You never snuck out of school?
No, I didn't. I think once I faked a sickness to to go home.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was just about it. Yes.
Okay.
So discipline was something I learned a lot. Working with few resources. Again, that was something I really learned from school. And then just facing adversity head on, whether it's the climate, whether it's lacking.
Yeah.
I believe that was a very, very rich learning experience.
That's impressive. I can't even compare my high school journey yangu. I think nilikuwa I was in soft life. As in mtoto wa juzi, went to MFA. Our meals were basically, what was it called? Rice and mokimo. And you have chicken and meat Monday to Friday. So
Kuwa na bahati sana. Sisi kuku pengine visiting day, mzazi akijituma alete, then unafaulu. Yeah.
That's interesting. So Kevin, now that we've looked at your high school, primary and high school, would you take us through your journey? Now umemaliza high school, umeingia campo. So as in that journey from campus, your medical journey from campus now to residency, how was your life at that time?
Great. So after high school, it was a time when there was actually quite some backlog in the university admission system. So that's around the year 2002 to 2004. So I joined medical school in 2004. 8th of November.
You even remember the date?
Exact date I joined.
Wow.
Yes. And that was after staying home for about 2 years because of the backlog, which was occasioned by strikes that had accumulated over time.
Yeah.
So, of course, those 2 years waiting was a bit frustrating because there wasn't much that we were doing at home.
Yeah.
So you've gone through the period of celebration, must a student.
Yeah.
There were very few of us in the entire country, so umetokea kwa gazeti, there's
Your favorite.
everyone is happy, yes, everyone is happy, the whole estate, village knows who you are, and unapata respect yako hapa na pale ukiwa kwa mtaa.
Yeah.
Haikuwa na pressure, you're just in the moment and just celebrating.
Yeah.
So ikafika wakati ya kwenda campus, and I was admitted to the University of Nairobi to pursue medicine and surgery. So back then, and I think even now, that was one of the very prestigious courses.
Yeah.
So when the admission letter came, you read it and it's unbelievable that I'm living this dream, it's here.
Yeah.
So fast forward to joining medical school. We join and we are a huge class. We are about 300 who have joined, so both the regular students and then there are those the self-sponsored ones.
Yeah.
So the class is about 200, or rather 300. And the first shock is that everyone is brilliant.
I know. You're not the only
so
superstar
you come and
here.
you realize I'm not the only superstar. In fact, the class was like the who is who from the 2 years ago KCSE performance. So all those names that you are seeing reading on the newspaper,
they're all now in
they
one
are now in your class.
class.
They are your classmates, and there are people who have come from I went to Alliance people, the Starehe,
in different schools, different
from
backgrounds.
different schools. So you know very clearly that these are very, very brilliant people.
Yeah.
And so you have to step up for you to stay relevant in the class and so on. So first year of medical school was the toughest because it's a whole mindset change.
Yeah.
The training is different. Now you are being trained to be a doctor. You are not merely being taught to reproduce this information at a later point.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information you have to find a way to apply it in your future practice, and the sheer volume of work is immense. The books are almost 4 or 5 times bigger than the ones we were reading in high school.
Yes.
And you just wonder, will all this information stay in my head? Be as it may, tukaanza kupambana. So the mantra then was a day at a time. And then the first shock came when we went into the anatomy lab, and you meet your subject, which is the cadaver.
Ooh, yeah.
And you're told this is your best teacher. And you have to stay with him for a year. So granted, we are split into groups of between 6 to 8.
Yeah.
So you are assigned a cadaver, and you'll dissect that for the entire year that you are learning anatomy.
So to put a pause, that
Yes.
cadaver is just you alone, or it's a group of 5 people, 6?
So there's one cadaver, but when we go for dissection, we are about 6 to 8 of us.
Yeah.
And you share the same cadaver. So there are people who will be actually doing the dissection, the cutting up to learn the structures. And then there are people who will be reading a manual to tell you where do you cut, what do you look for, to what extent do you cut. Yes. And the dissection lab is actually set up in a morgue or a mortuary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just attached to a mortuary next door. In fact, sometimes you have to pass through the mortuary to get into the dissection room. Yeah, so that was the first shock, but we had heard about these things.
Yeah.
I think all of us had read about Johnny Carson, the neurosurgeon, and the book Think Big. I think most of our generation of doctors, that was one of the books that inspired us.
Yeah.
So we heard about dissection. We had also read a set book, The River and the Source, and one of the characters there was named, I think, Aoro Sigu. Came to medical school, and so the author of that book was a medical doctor, so she described all these details very, very well. So we somehow had an idea what to expect.
Yeah.
But yes, you still get a shock.
Yes.
As the years went on, or as the months went on in year one, we ended up being very comfortable that sometimes we would even dissect without gloves.
Whoa.
Just get in and hold the scalpel and dissect. And it never used to phase us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we could go get our lunch and come back to the dissection room. Yes.
Morgue with food.
Absolutely.
And you eat comfortably.
Comfortably.
Oh my.
Yes.
I think let me put in a very quick question.
Yes.
So you've dealt with a cadaver. How was the experience actually dealing with a living patient? How was that, like your first experience?
Actually, dealing with sick human beings is harder than dealing with a cadaver. Because the cadaver is emotionless.
Yeah.
It is. It doesn't respond. You cut. There's nothing. But an alive human being, you see the suffering. You see the desperation, the despair, and there are also the emotions. And much as you are a medical student, you're still learning the skills of empathy, trying to be professional, and so sometimes it gets to you and it becomes very difficult to handle sometimes. So emotionally there were moments that were really nerve-wracking as a medical student, because you wonder, will I really master this science to be able to help this person? Yes.
Okay, Dr. Kevin, please tell us, how do you keep up with the advancements in medicine?
So thank you for the question. Medicine is a very interesting science or career, in the sense that the science evolves. So what we know as a good treatment today, in a few years' time, advancements have come and it has changed practice. So you have to do what is current. So to keep up, one, we have continuous professional development sessions. So these are usually talks or lectures that highlight the advancements that have come in terms of diagnosis and treatment. Number two, there are also medical conferences that we are actually obligated to attend every year and attain a certain number of points before your license can be renewed. Now we are getting into a whole different realm of artificial intelligence in medicine. And so it becomes incumbent upon us to try and keep up And so it has to be a self-driven agenda. So personally, I get out of my way to try and learn what is new in my field, what is new in my area, what technology can help me assist my patients better, and go out and acquire those skills. A lot of the time it costs some money, so you have to spend to be great, yes, and upgrade your skills and knowledge. And I think that's fine, because much as it's to the benefit of the patient, the more skilled you are, the better your outcomes, so you're able to get in more patients.
Yes.
And of course, we are not doing a charitable work.
Yes.
So, we get a bit for more bread as well.
That's very interesting. So, like a day in your life, would you just take us through ukiamka asubuhi as a medic paka jioni? What are those activities in between that happens for you?
Okay, so days are different, but the general template is more or less similar. So typically my day starts at about 5:30 in the morning on a working day. So when I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, then usually I would take some time to exercise. So my favorite go-to is a run. So I do about 7 to 8 kilometers.
Wow. Impressive.
Not every day, but typically most days of the week, unless there's some reason, maybe the weather or there's some other urgent matter that I have to complete.
Yeah.
So then after that, I would come back to the house, take a shower, have breakfast, and then by 7, it's time to get to work. So it depends on some days I have lectures, so I would give a lecture.
Yeah.
And again, now the benefit of technology is that sometimes you can do these lectures online.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes you're able to do that from the house. But because also you have to interact with students, there are some issues that can only be sorted out in a physical setup.
Yes.
So I would end up on campus and interact with students or have a physical class. Then maybe perform some administrative work. And then after that, once I'm done with that bit, then I would head to the clinic.
Yeah.
Now in clinic, typically it's to see patients. There are days clinic is light, there are days it's a bit heavy. And so we tend to see all the patients that are booked. So the clinic involves generally consultations.
Yeah.
There are a few procedures that we can do as well. So maybe, as I told you earlier, I'm more biased for
The heart.
So
Yes.
I do a lot of evaluations of the heart, whether it's scanning for the heart. That's predominantly what I do, and make diagnosis, send patients to the laboratory, and review their reports from those particular places. My typical day in clinic would run up to about 5:30 or 6 in the evening.
Wow.
By then, you're very exhausted. Sometimes people wonder what makes you exhausted, because you're really just talking.
Yeah.
But the intellectual input in terms of thinking of, patients come and give you a story, and it's your duty to figure out what does this story lead to. Does it make sense? So it's more like you're doing detective work. So it tells you there's a headache here, my neck is hurting, and maybe my vision has a problem. And so you're trying to think about what do this constellation of symptoms mean. And it's a lot of mental work. So by evening you find that you're quite exhausted. So a lot of the times after clinic, maybe I would grab a cup of coffee, and then it's time to head home. So once home, sometimes there's some work to finish. Medical reports, because sometimes insurance wants a report here and there. Sometimes there are images that we did that you need to provide reports for the patient. Sometimes patients want to seek other opinions, so then you need some report or refer to another doctor. So that's the time I would complete those reports. And then, yes, after that, it's my personal free time, so I would probably have dinner, bond with the family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then typically go to sleep around 11 in the night.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds like a very packed day.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. So as we're winding up, I think we want to know what were the key turning points in your career. What would you say are the key turning points in your career?
Oh, yes. Thinking about my career, there have been a number of turning points. The first of these turning points came early when I was still in medical school, and it really determined the direction that I took. So when I was about third year of medical school, there's one of my mentors who is known as Dr. Bukachi. You probably know him. He's a cardiologist.
Yes.
So there was a project they were doing about one of the heart conditions, and it was a survey that was being done in the entire Eastlands area of Nairobi to look for how frequent this heart condition was.
Okay.
So they required research assistants, and having known him from prior engagement, I was among those who were selected, and I ended up leading the team of research assistants. And so that endeared me towards the practice of cardiovascular medicine. And from then on, I was wired that when I complete medical school, I will then train in residency as an internal medicine physician, and then train in cardiology, so that I can be doing what these people are doing.
Awesome.
So I think that was one of the major turning points. And then secondly, when I was in residency, again, I got an opportunity soon after I completed residency to have a skills training in heart diagnostic services. So it's particularly echocardiography training. And so that pushed me further into the field of cardiology, because I already had interest, passion, and so I found the opportunity. And so I was among the first cohort of people who were trained on that. And it pushed me more into it. And then the last part, I would say, that has changed my trajectory was there was an opportunity also by Mark Foundation. They were offering some scholarships for training in different areas of medicine. So when I saw there was an area in cardiovascular medicine, I quickly took it up, I enrolled, and it has vastly opened up my opportunities as well. So I think those are a few of the highlights I can talk about.
Amazing. Yes. That's some really interesting discussions we've had regarding the academic and professional side of Dr. Ndede. So we'll be moving to the next segment of our talks, and we hope you keep it locked here.